the 76ers in a second, but first, NBA Summer League Grizzlies and Jazz and Utah's Jarrell Brantley setting the layup attempt out of bounds with authority.
This isn't the greatest highlight, so I want to tell a story real quick. That Jenna, during the break, got a tweet from someone talking about how wildly unprofessional I am and that she should get a raise for having to sit next to me. And her response to that was, during this segment, to be thinking about that and to just say, but, oh, I forgot my point. I was thinking about
the compliment I got on Twitter. It wasn't a point, it was a transition, because I thought you were going to come back with how good the U.S. team. All right, Warriors and Kings and Golden State rookie Alen Smailagic brought the thunder with the one-handed slam.
Hey, Warriors better develop some young players in the Summer League. The Summer League becomes very, very important for them. Even though they got Clay and Steph coming back at some point next year.
With the D'Angelo Russell sign and trade, the Warriors are a hard-cap team. So that means they're probably actually only going to have 13 guys on the roster, not 14, or the league allowed 15. So a guy like that could actually get some run.
I was setting you up for success is what I was doing. Atlanta Entertainment Basketball League, University
get hit by a car.
of West Georgia's. I'm going with A. This is Seth Brown Carter throwing down the tomahawk slam.
Jenna's setup for the success was like the alley-oop in this highlight. A wildly errant pass, someone caught and salvaged. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jenna, you know this is my nephew. You know I have a couple sisters in Atlanta.
Right.
This is my nephew. That's why it's on the show.
Gotcha. Oh, no, I'm not falling for that. I fucked
up. Wow, how did she not believe it?
Because the first 3 times he made that joke, I did believe it.
My dad had about 17 kids. That might be my brother.
Moving on.
Rolling Stone.
Moving on.
That might be my brother.
To Jimmy Butler.
Real talk.
Jimmy Butler helped carry the 76ers to the Eastern Conference semifinals last season. So good he was, in fact, that then head coach Brett Brown praised his leadership and maturity, saying we should call him James Butler. Well, James Butler reportedly turned down a 5-year max offer from the Sixers to instead take his talents to South Beach to play for the Miami Heat. See, does this say more about Jimmy Butler or the 76ers?
I think it says a number of things. I think that last year there was a conversation, or there was a shouting match between Jimmy Butler and Brett Brown, the coach there. And Jimmy Butler, behind the scenes, was not impressed with his overall tactical ability, in-game management, and how he handled Joel Embiid and some of the other players. But Jimmy Butler is a prickly person. So I'm just going to say Philadelphia is some of it. He realized this is a franchise, and they offered him the max contract, but it's going to be built around Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I believe that he's always wanted to play somewhere nice from a weather standpoint. Yep. If he couldn't get to Los Angeles, he was going to try to get to Miami. That franchise is going to be around him, and it's just a matter of which I believe with Kawhi Leonard's going to play a role. Kyrie Irving, it played a role. Kevin Durant, it played a role. Where do you want to go to work? And I believe that Jimmy Butler decided this was the organization. This is his last big deal. And he wanted to work with Miami, Pat Riley, and the coaching staff there, and more confident in them moving forward, because the money is relatively the same money, if not the exact money.
Especially once you adjust for that this is a 4-year deal instead of a 5-year deal, as long as he assumes at the end of this deal he'll be able to get maybe not a max contract, but he won't be retiring at the end of this deal. To me, this is all about Jimmy Butler, nothing at all about Philadelphia. And I think people need to understand who Jimmy Butler is and where he comes from. Jimmy Butler's from Tomball, Texas, about 45 minutes north of Houston, kind of a small town on the outskirts of Houston. Jimmy Butler growing up was homeless a couple of times. Jimmy Butler went to a junior college. Jimmy Butler then, starting with Marquette, and to this moment, has worked in or lived in Milwaukee, Chicago, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. What do all of those places have in common? It's cold there. He was the 30th pick of the draft. He was not a lottery pick. He was not a surefire. It wasn't surefire. He was going to be on an NBA roster past 3 years. He is now 29 years old. He's an NBA All-Star. He is now wealthy beyond his wildest imagination. And he's single and very rich, as I just mentioned, and he wants to live in Miami. And on a basketball side of things, he believes what Kawhi Leonard just did, he can do. Now, I don't think he's right. I think Jimmy Butler's a tier beneath that level of player. I don't think he can be the best player on a championship team, but he believes he can be, and more power to him. He believes he was the player on track to be the player that Kawhi Leonard has turned into, the two-way force, wing player, great defender, scorer from all three levels, all those things. And he wants to go do it in Miami for a great organization, by the way. Miami Heat, since Pat Riley's been there, have done things the right way consistently. Now, they have not yet fully recovered from LeBron leaving and then Bosch's blood clots and Wade falling off. But they stayed relevant. They never tanked. They never fell off. And now they have Jimmy Butler. So I don't think you should look at this as an indictment on Philly at all. Jimmy wanted his own team. He wanted the Miami weather. He enjoys his somewhat newfound celebrity lifestyle, good friends with Mark Wahlberg and some other people. So this was about Jimmy Butler, not about the Philadelphia 76ers.
And see, he left having done good things in Philadelphia. I mean, what he did in the playoffs was really fantastic.
Well, I think there's still some regret. You get the 4 bounces on the rim, and Kawhi Leonard goes on to do what he was able to do against. I still think you have to look at Philadelphia, because you don't trade for a player like Jimmy Butler and just renting him out for the season. Like, it was not either NBA championship or bust. No, it was, man, help us develop a culture here, because we can't depend on these two young players we have. Man, I know people in Philadelphia, man, they see Joel Embiid getting out of the Ritz. He lives at the Ritz with Taco Bell bags and everything. Like, that's not the guy you're going to be able to depend on. Ben Simmons, regardless of what he is off the court, on the court, he's limited. You can't win an NBA championship with him being your second best player. So there has to be something with, they didn't get Jimmy Butler for free. They traded away assets to be able to get him, and they had to settle for Tobias Harris. So you have to be able to talk about Philadelphia. They missed on this, because you do not trade for Jimmy Butler, put him in your culture, and then allow him to go to Miami for a max deal and act as if you didn't do everything, like you did everything right.
And you mentioned the regret on the 4 bounces on the rim. Man, NBA sliding doors is tough. If you guys remember that Game 7, it's Toronto ball up 2. Philly gets a steal. Butler has it going the other way with less than 10 seconds left. Has an opportunity to pull up for 3, potentially win the game right there. He goes in for a tough layup and makes it. So it's a tie game instead of Philly potentially being up 1. That then is what preceded the Kawhi 4 bounces shot. I'm sure there's feelings in Philly like, man, what if, or had I taken that shot, had Kawhi the 4 bounces gone a different way,
right,
then maybe things are different. But where we are today, even though this wasn't Philly's plan, Jimmy Butler has been wanting to play somewhere warm, live somewhere nice, and be the best guy on a team. He wasn't offered that in Minnesota. He thought he was going to get that in Chicago. He didn't get that in Philly. Now he unquestionably has it in Miami. He's the best player on that team by a wide margin.
All right, we'll take a break. Coming up, is Anthony Davis putting his legacy in LeBron James's hands? That's next. This is First Things First.
Taco Bell good, though, man. I was living in the Ritz, Joel, and